This is Bowl of Men,
Hey guys, this is Diego.
Hey, it's JT here.
and I'm Carlos, and we've got producer San Ev over here kicking it on the levels.
Hey, how's it going?
So today's episode, we're going to be covering the fall 2019 episode. I guess I shouldn't say the fall 2019, because that would imply that we're going over everyone. Not true. We cherry-picked a few hot ones, not so hot ones. Some of our personal favorites, and some that we thought deserved honorable mention because of how interesting they were. We're not gonna go over any particular order of like how great they are, but like I said, we do have a few on here that we recently watched or stood out to us. I guess I'm just gonna run down the list right quick, just to kind of go over, just to let y'all know what's in store today. So at the top of the list, we have Beastars, followed by SAO, Alicization, War of Underworld, the fourth season to My Hero, Fire Force, Vinland Saga, and Kemono Michi Rise Up. So those for sure we're definitely going to try to make time for. And then if we've got some extra time to touch upon them, we have Overly Cautious Hero, Seven Deadly Sins, Food Wars, High School Prodigies Have It Easy in Another World, Welcome to Demon School Irma-kun, No Guns Life, Didn't I Ask for My Abilities to Be Average in the Next Life. And then we've got a few other ones here as well that, like I said, like the honorable mention shout-outs. We have Ascendance of a Bookworm, Radiant Season 2, Are You Really the Only One That Likes Me, We Never Learned Bokuben Season 2, Assassin's Pride, and I believe that's all of them.
Pretty exciting.
Yeah, there was definitely some hot ones. I'm not going to lie. 2019, I would say, was a good year for anime, especially the fall season.
Yeah.
I don't know about y'all. I think it's fair to say that SAO was definitely a big hitter. That it's pretty. The fourth season was definitely, or I guess it's the third season.
Third season,
part two, right? Yeah.
Well, it's confusing.
Yeah.
It's like Alicization, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's
so
like
that's-
War of Underworld, and then what's coming up next is War of Underworld
War of
Part
Underworld
2.
Part 2, yeah.
Well, it's like super confusing, but
it's like, but so I was like reading into it, and there's like it's, what do they call it? It's like Cur or COUR, which I think is like the parts of anime, or like how they release the seasons.
Okay.
And they were saying that this is just like one of those animes that, like, even though it's like a big break in what people would consider season 1, season 2, it's like actually it's just one season wrapped up together, but they're just breaking it apart. But well, I guess while we're on the topic, we might as well just start with SAO, or Alicization, War of Underworld. So I would say in this group, I'm like a big backer, I would say, of SAO. I feel like
this guy loves this.
Yeah, I feel like I'm the only one that's in SAO's corner, like in their defense, because I know a lot of people don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
It was my first anime, so one could say that I'm maybe
Biased?
but no, I'm trying to come at it as clear as possible, untinted eyes. But I believe I got Diego to watch it.
Yeah,
and,
season 3 and season 4. Obviously, I watched the first 2 seasons. Season 1 was amazing. Obviously, it's what I gotta say about SAO. It's like you love it, and you love it all the way through, or you love it and then like you watch the other seasons and you start hating it. Either way, you love season 1 because like SAO is just like it gets you hooked in whatever.
Yeah, it's good. It's an interesting take on it. The whole. I think it's fair to say that, like, if you like anime, you probably play video games.
Whole
it's
concept
like the concept of like getting
SAO.
sucked in the game. Yeah, it's like it's cool. It's different. I'm sure like other anime have done it, and I can't really tell, or I don't know if the other anime that came before or after it with the whole like video game concept. But no. So SAO Alicization. So this is season 3, not War of Underworld, just plain Alicization. Was really good. I think they did a great job of like stepping aside from like, hey, these are the characters. You got Asuna. I wish I shouldn't have brought up the character names because I don't know them all.
Asuna, Shino, which is the chick from Gunga Online.
Yeah.
They got let's see.
There was like the big bartender guy, and then like his redheaded buddy.
I'm trying to see like
But anyways, yeah. So there was like those characters. You know, they were cool. You liked them. But then they like took you out of it, and they're like, okay, yeah. So what you knew about SAO like doesn't necessarily matter. You know, they're like just like here you go. You're in this new world, super fantasy. And it does a great job of like building these characters. You know. Now, the problem I had with War of Underworld, which is the Alicization Part 2.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Or War of Underworld, right?
right. Was that not? Okay, because it's
So,
Alicization. Then,
and then
oh, okay, that's
War
right.
of Underworld.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's War of Underworld, its own thing.
Yeah.
Under Alicization. Yeah. So my problem with that, I guess, right out the gate. I guess we're going into semi-spoiler territory. Um, they they bring back a lot of the other characters from season one and Gun Gale season 2.
Season 2.
So I wasn't a big fan of that because you have Alice, Eugenio, all these other characters.
Like, season 3 introduced a bunch of badass characters, so it would have been badass to see like how they would have carried out like all this with them. But like Carlos is saying, they introduced back all these season 1, season 2 characters to like help out, which is like it's all right, but I would prefer if a War of Underworld like just carried out
right
like,
because I think they did, like I said, they did a good job of like separating themselves from it. It's like, I think that's safe to say, I feel like a lot of people dropped off at Gun Gale season 2, and you said you liked it, right?
I dropped off after season 2 because I was like, man.
Yeah, so did I. It's like, I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of SAO. Season 2 happened, Gun Gale, and I was just like, well, so I kind of fell off at that point. I think I saw like a commercial for Toonami, that was Alicization, and I was like, that looks crispy. That's a good looking anime, and I was like, wait, SAO, huh? So it's good. They definitely have some shortcomings. Like I said, I would have preferred them to keep going with those like Alicization characters. It's like,
and so let me interrupt real quick. Me being a not SAO fan,
sure.
As far as I can tell from what you guys are talking about, because I haven't seen War of Underworld, I haven't seen any of Alicization. I dropped off after Elfenheim.
So I think that's the second part, the second arc of season 1.
Yeah, exactly. I dropped off after that. I didn't like SAO.
Understandable.
I think the only reason why they would have thought about bringing back those characters from season 1 is just for the pure fact of fan service, just so that way you can relive through. Because if you think about it, Alicization Underworld's coming out in late 2019 into 2020. That means the anime would have aired like what, 4 or 5 years ago.
Well, so the part 2 of Underworld was supposed to be out already, but because of the whole COVID-19 thing, it's delayed.
Fair enough.
But yeah, going into that, which I think is kind of like, I'm trying to use like a little bit of clairvoyance to figure out what you're talking about. Yeah, I think 2016 is when I watched SAO. At the time, I don't know how long it was out originally.
I think it came out around that time.
Around that time, right? Yeah, I think it was 2016. It might have even been 2015. I'm not sure. But so we're in 2020 now, so it's 4 or 5 years later. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't know who these characters were, other than like the like my favorite guy was the big bartender guy. It's like he's just like
that other redhead guy or orange hair guy that like helped Kirito like in the first season.
Yeah, in the first season, like his buddy from like the start.
The original SAO came out in 2012. It is 6 years.
That's insane.
So that even pushes more to the fact that it's purely fan service.
But that's what I'm saying though. Like, I'm a fan. I didn't know who these people were. And so when did Alicization come out? That was last year?
Original Alicization started airing in 2018.
2018.
Ended 2019.
So you start 2018, and like I said, so they shed the characters, and they're like, here are new characters. Learn these people, basically, and they do a great job of it. Now here we are, 2019, 2020. Underworld, you're like, okay, yeah, I'm all about it. But then they're like, here you go. Here's the old gang. I'm like looking at these faces, and I'm like, it's like that Patrick meme or the SpongeBob meme where Patrick's like looking at his rock with all the little eyes. And he's like, who are you people? Like, that was me. I was just like, oh man.
It was just like, there was just like parts where like, wait, she's from that game, and she did that one thing, and like, oh, that's Kirito's cousin,
Yeah, yeah.
and then like they like you see her in the game, right? And you're like, oh wait, because like there's like episodes where you see them in real life, and there's episodes where you see them in the game. So it's like you have to do the whole thing where like they look, they look different, and then they look different in the game from like what they do,
Yeah, yeah.
in real life.
So it's really just like the voices, you kind of like
you have to
working
rely
off
on
what the voices are.
Yeah.
And I guess that's really only if you're paying attention that well. But
Mhm.
no, I don't want to dive in too deeply as far as like what the story is, in case you do plan on watching
Like,
it.
super spoilers.
Yeah,
but
yeah. People die. I'm a big fan of people dying. Like, I know that sounds like morbid and weird, but it's like I feel like it doesn't happen in anime too often.
No, you're right. Like, main
know?
character dies off, that's a blessing.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
that's how you know they're serious about
Yeah,
trying to
spoiler
develop.
alert, Attack on Titan, like when that happened, like it was the first like few episodes, like it
Oh yeah.
killed off the main character. I was like,
Mm.
huh, what?
Because like there's animes where like you're watching them, right, and you're like, man, he's gonna die, right? Like the character dies, and you're like, but he's gonna come back
Yeah.
at the end, because you
You
have
got
that.
the protag shield.
Yeah, it's
That
like
the
it's like
plot armor.
plot
you
armor.
have,
There you go.
You have that like that feeling. You're like, oh, he's gonna come back, so like you don't feel bad, right? But then like you watch, if he's gonna come back or not, but you want him to, or like you
Can
want them to.
can I do like one big spoiler alert? Like,
All right, go. I mean,
okay,
go
just
ahead.
letting everybody know, if you like intend on watching this like Underworld, just avert your eyes, your
Ears.
Or ears.
But if you don't care much for spoilers, stick around. The part where Kirito is like comatose, right? Like the
Yeah.
entire anime.
Vegetable state.
Yeah, then so I was a fan of that because it's like he's the main character and he's out of the game. Like they're wheeling him around on a wheelchair. He's just like dead fish eyes, like
Mm-hmm.
glazed over. That's him the entire anime. I want to know if they had the actual voice actor or not, but all he was doing was like, oh, oh, like mumbling and stuff.
Yeah.
So I wonder if they had the actual voice actor do those, or if they just had like some random studio guy. But they like teased at it in the first episode or two where they're like
first like couple within the first couple episodes.
yeah, right, where one of the guy does like an attack or something, and
He like throws a
Kiri-
little,
yeah, he throws, like, a
little-
dagger,
Yeah, at him.
and Kirito's like willpower blocks it, and the guy's like, it's like, oh yeah, you're like he's got the willpower, and like when you need him most, he'll come back.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of going through the whole episode
Yeah.
expecting usual anime stuff. Oh
Mhm.
yeah, Ex Machina,
He's gonna come
Kirito's
back.
gonna
Yeah.
show up with throwing his
when they
swords
need him
around.
the most.
Yeah, exactly, because they were saying it, but it doesn't happen, and I'm
Yeah, I
like,
was,
okay,
disappointed.
I was like, yeah, I was like disappointed, but at the same time, I guess like as a fan and like as someone who likes an OP character, I was kind of disappointed that he didn't come back, but at the same time,
It's
I was
just a-
all about it. I was
It's just a build up for the next like part 2.
exactly
War of
Underworld Part
Yeah.
2. But all right, so let's go ahead and move on. I guess that's all I have to say after dropping a big spoiler on SAO. Let's go ahead and move on and ruin some other animes for y'all.
Wonderful.
Do either of y'all have an anime that y'all want to talk about?
Let's talk Vinland Saga. So,
Vinland Saga.
Vinland
Alright.
Saga.
yeah.
People who haven't seen it, it's basically a story about Vikings in like early century.
Yeah,
of
Vikings
after
trying to.
Christ.
Right, when they were like in their prime.
They're trying to
Exactly.
take over England.
Exactly.
That's like
Um,
from what I
expanding their
got.
conquest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hot take. I was not a fan of Vinland Saga. It
Mhm.
was good, but personally, I didn't like it.
I'm still currently watching Vinland Saga. I
How
got up
many
to
episodes?
episode 8.
Episode
He's
8?
like early on. He's
And that's
still
a
baby.
24 episode, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of baby, I think I only got like 2 episodes in, 3 episodes.
Oh, so I'm the
yeah,
okay.
you're a resident expert on this one.
Yeah, man.
Excellent.
But,
So,
so on that topic, or on that note, a question:
mhm.
do you not like it because it's just against your preferences, or just like
It's probably just against his preferences,
yeah?
knowing him.
No, honestly, that's really what it is. Vinland Saga, I don't mind the blood and gore. I don't mind like the strategy behind one of the characters in it, who's personally one of my favorite characters. How he always strategizes and stuff like that. Honestly, it was just
Thorfinn?
no.
Oh.
Askeladd.
Askeladd.
Askeladd was the most like strategic guy in that anime.
Is he like a main character, or just like
Yeah,
a
he's a
side
main
character?
He's like,
character. So-
like a bad guy.
so
but,
basically-
yeah.
Oh.
How the story is Thorfinn is the main character. All right, he has a dad. It starts out with Thorfinn as like an 8,
That's
9
the blonde head kid, right?
Yeah, that's the
the-
blonde head kid. He
yeah.
starts out as like an 8 or 9-year-old. His dad is Thor's. He used to be like this
Like super powerful,
super
like
powerful Viking in the Yorm Vikings. I think that's what
Yorms
they're
or
called.
some
yeah, it's like a
Yeah.
different clan.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And Askeladd, or they get sent on a mission. Thor's gets sent on a mission. Thorfinn stows away in his dad's boat.
Well, it's not that they get sent away in a mission. It's just
Yeah,
that like
they get kind of
so,
forced
like-
into joining a
so
war.
Yeah, there you go.
basically
That's it.
basically like yeah, Thor's used to be a Viking. He realizes that he doesn't want to do it anymore, so he
doesn't like
abandons
killing.
ship.
yeah.
Right?
It's like so the anime starts with like a big battle ensuing, and he jumps ship
Yeah.
basically, and he goes
To Iceland.
rogue. Is that the
Yeah.
term, or
goes-
is it?
He
He
goes
doesn't-
MIA
Yeah. No,
because they
K-
presumed him dead.
yeah, he goes MIA, and they announced him KIA.
Yeah, but then they end up finding out that he's alive
in Iceland.
and in Iceland,
Yeah.
and they were like, "Whoa, this dude ran!" Like, huh?
And he's like a chief of a village. or
Yeah.
some-
So they pretty
something
much
like
come
that.
back for him. His demons come back for him. He's trying to like change his ways, be a normal like chief, like a the villager basically.
Yeah.
But then his past demons come back, and they're like, "Hey man, you dipped. That's no good.
Mhm.
But we'll ignore that, the Viking way and all that. We'll ignore that, and if you come fight this
and
next
it's all
war."
because the Vikings are trying to take over England, right?
Yeah.
And then since like the Vikings settled down somewhere in England, the English attacked the Vikings on a Saturday because apparently that's when the Vikings
Yeah, I
showered
thought
on
that
Sa-
was cool. That
Yeah.
was a cool little history part where
Yeah.
where it's like that's like when the Viking village or whatever
Yeah.
shuts down and everybody
showers.
showers. So
Yeah.
they're defenseless basically at the river.
So the English just knew like to attack on
Yeah,
Saturday.
I kind of yeah. So I kind of want to do research to see if that was true or
Yeah.
or what. But just
So like they took it as a threat, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna gather up everybody and start a war,"
Yeah.
So they like knew where.
So
Oh.
kind of pushing past all that. Right. Thor's is kind of forced to join a war. He takes 2 ships with him, 12 men, and his son Thorfinn ends up stowing away in his boat.
Ooh.
Yeah. They are heading towards a certain part in England where the main forces are at.
Where
but
they're all like grouping up.
exactly.
Yeah.
But they stop at an island in between to kind of rest up so that way they'll be able to make it.
Well, they stopped up there because they took like all like the young men from
Right.
the
The plan was to actually leave the 12 men that came with him at that island
and take
So-
sailors and like get real like men,
No,
Oh.
it was just to get sailors to pilot the boat. That was it. Thor's was
Ah.
going to fight the war he was going to join by himself.
Ah,
Yeah, because he was against like all like basically from what I remember, this village was just like they've never known war.
Mhm.
They're just real peaceful. They're just
Mhm.
doing their thing. But because they're Vikings and Valhalla and like I want to die
Yeah.
a warrior's death, they hear war and they're all like, hell yeah, man! Like let's go. I'm down. But none of them know war. But Thor's does, and he's all like shaking
Not
his
worth it.
head like,
Not worth
man,
it."
y'all don't know what y'all doing.
yeah.
So okay, so then he's just trying to like
Right, he's trying to save the men from
Yeah,
like
yeah.
any war or anything like that.
Mhm.
Well, the guy who kind of forced him into joining the war, the guy's name's Floki. Floki
Hires an assassin basically.
hires a pirate is what they call them.
Yeah.
He
pirate.
hires a pirate, which is Askeladd. I'll get into that. Who resides on that island currently where they stopped, and he asked him to kill Thorst. So
for 5 pounds of gold.
that's anyway.
hey,
so
that might be like a fat amount.
Yeah.
Get by a boat or something.
anyways, they start heading towards the harbor. The harbor is like in this like crescent island, so you have to pass by these 2 tall like cliffs in order
Uh-huh.
to get to the island. Immediately, Thor's realizes there's something not right about it. They try to leave. They end up blocking his exit. The pirate that shows up, Askeladd, ends up dueling Thor's. Thor's beats him, but because Askeladd's a pirate doing it for money, he refuses defeat. He basically tricks Thor's.
Goes back on the whole like I guess it's like an
It's
an
a
honor,
honor
thing.
code.
Warriors
He
code.
goes
Warriors
against
code.
the honor code of Vikings. Kills Thor's.
So that
Thor
was 5 pounds of gold, baby. I'd do it
Thorfinn
too.
Yeah.
Thorfinn sees that. He starts losing his mind because his dad, is dying.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And the 12 men end up heading back home.
Yeah.
The Askeladd ends up taking the boats that they had with them and taking them with them to add to their fleet.
Is Thorfinn still stowed?
Thorfinn stowed away again in the boat that they took.
Yeah.
So Thorfinn, as Askeladd's troops are in the main boat, Thorfinn is by himself in the boat they took with him.
They're towing away one of the boats in the back, so that's the one he stowed away in.
Ooh.
And
so he's like, there's like no food or water.
So
back
then,
there.
he gets raised by
basically,
that's
quote unquote the enemy.
That's the craziest thing. The first 6 episodes is about how he follows Askeladd, his dad's killer, essentially getting used to them and merging into their group, living with them, just so he can continue his quest of revenge of killing Askeladd.
Oh, okay.
That was the most driving thing about that anime. It was a very unique setup where he's living with them. He's going with their group. He's not really becoming friends. He hates all of them.
Yeah. He's always,
it's like a two-face kind of thing.
He's always dueling, he's always dueling Askeladd, for to avenge his father. But Askeladd's
always kicking his butt.
Yeah. Does he know? Is it one of those like oh, I know you're his son. I know you want to kill me.
But... Yeah. Thorfinn was there with Thor's when Thor's died.
Oh, okay.
So he knew exactly who he was.
So so plot to the side. What did you not like about it? Like,
honestly, at the beginning, it was very slow, but it was necessary because it was all world building, So I'm willing to overlook that. A lot of the characters that were introduced just didn't click with me. They're either to me they just seemed really bland, or their stories came in a little too late, or they just didn't get any story whatsoever. The prince, what's his name? The prince's name is Canute. I don't like Canute. I don't like Canute at all.
As a character, or
as a character, his story is that he's supposed to be he's the prince, going to be the new king of the what was it? The Danes?
I haven't gone that far.
Right. So he's supposed to be the new king, or he's the prince of the current king that is fighting England right now. So whenever he gets introduced, it kind of turns Askeladd's group from just being Vikings pillaging to kind of protecting him because they've joined the war.
Okay.
His character is that he's supposed to be a prince, but the guy who's with him, what's his name? His name is Ragnar. Ragnar is basically just babying Canute. So Canute's very shy. He doesn't like talking to people. He's not a king.
Yeah.
But then in one episode, in like a 10-minute time period, his character completely does a 180. He becomes brutal. He becomes the king he should be. And honestly, I feel like that character development was too quick.
Right.
It was kind of just uninteresting.
Okay, yeah, no, I feel that. that.
Yeah. So that's honestly just one of the gripes that I have. Other than that, it just wasn't my kind of anime. Fighting was cool.
Yeah, the animation's really cool. Like, I saw the first episode where he's just killing everybody.
Yeah,
and I'm like, it's so smooth and everything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, really cool.
Looks good.
Fight scenes were beautiful. The animation was top quality.
Yeah.
I just didn't really like the story. It didn't bother me that it was history. It just didn't flow well with me.
So we never touched on it. But I kind of want to backtrack a little back to SAO. SAO has really good art and animation. But it's like you can tell it's more like just throwing money at it.
Yeah.
I don't know how much of it's like, I'm sure all of it's done computer. But like Vinland Saga, I never really thought much to it. Like, I would argue it looks better, honestly. Like, their art style, like, it feels more artistic. Like, I don't know.
Personally, I agree with that. I've always thought SAO, they just kind of put most of their money towards just the action scenes themselves, and then everything else is kind of second thought. Whereas Vinland Saga itself, they put a lot of, I want to say, of their time into everything.
It's like when you look at like the old school Miyazaki films, it's like I saw like a Reddit or Tumblr post about like the flower landscapes of like these Miyazaki films, and it's just like these beautiful, some of them are like watercolor, but it's just beautiful landscapes. Or like whenever they do like cooking and stuff like that, it's like you can tell when they put time in it as opposed to just like money, I guess. Like, that's a weird, I don't know anything about the animation process, so I'm just kind of speaking out of my ass here, but I don't know, like, you can see it, like it's visible. But all right, I guess we'll move on.
Yeah, let's get into another anime.
Let's talk Kemono Michi Rise Up.
Ah.
I personally
good
haven't
pick.
watched it. As far as I know, it's an isekai, right?
Yeah, man.
Jessica, yeah.
I'm a whore for some isekai. I
Oh,
tell
I know
you
you
what,
are.
man.
Trust me. Let's hear it then, Carlos.
Okay, so well, first, Ev, you've seen this one, right?
Which one?
The
Kimono Michi Rise
animal
Up.
mask.
The
Animal,
wrestling
yeah.
one.
The
Yeah,
wrestling
yeah.
one? Yeah, yeah. Okay, so for anyone who doesn't know, Ev's like our resident newbie. He hasn't seen too many anime. He started a couple months ago.
Something
Probably
like that, yeah.
a year ago or
Almost a
something.
year-ish.
Almost a
Yeah.
year? Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So but we gave him some homework for this episode and we were like, all right, we want you to watch these.
Yeah, just for the
And
fall
I'll be
anime.
forever grateful, man.
Yeah,
That
dude.
anime is very,
It's
very
good.
funny.
Yeah.
So it's I can't remember if it's Hatage Kemono Michi Rise Up or Kemono Michi Rise Up Hatage. Anyways, so basically it's the story. I'm just gonna give y'all a quick rundown. It's a normal isekai. Guy gets transferred or summoned to another world to fight Demon
Yeah.
Lord or whatever. But the guy who gets summoned, now that's where it gets fun. He's this wrestler. His wrestling alias is Animal Mask, and he's in the middle of like a championship fight, and he gets summoned. He's going in for like a frog splash. If for those of you who don't know, it's like jumps off the top turnbuckle, spread eagle style, and he's gonna like land on his opponent. Gets teleported with his dog. He's a Animal Mask. If that didn't cue you in, he's like an animal loving freak. Like that dude just loves his animals. So he gets teleported with his dog, and right off the gate, like it's gonna be funny because like the princess is there, like
Who summoned him?
yeah, who
It's like-
summoned
it's like a
him. She's
priest
just
or
like,
something.
oh, great warrior, like oh, you're gonna save us from like these wretched beasts, and then he's just like, beasts? What?
Yeah, she's
What
like,
do you
"We s-
want me to
like,
do?
We summoned you to fend off the castle or whatever to fight the creatures off," and it just like triggered him.
Yeah, it triggered him because it's like a mix up. Like he doesn't know that or I guess it's not really that he doesn't know, but it's just to him all animals are like
Equal.
He loves animals. So he's just like, you want me to fight animals? And then he throws her in a German suplex, and it's the funniest moment because then you hear like the ring announcer, and she's like 1, 2, 3, and it's like ding ding ding. It's just like he like stands up, he's like accepting his champion or his award or whatever. But basically, so this anime, he's like, normal isekai, it's like, all right, you fight the demon lord. But he's like, nah, man. He's like, I want to open an animal shop or a pet shop.
So that's basically what what he says like before he gets isekai. Like, so I think his coach or something like that is like, so he's like, what are you gonna do if you win like the big tournament or whatever? And he's like, I'm gonna open up a pet shop.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so that's what he was looking forward to whenever he won the wrestling match, but he got isekai'd. So whenever he got isekai'd, people don't understand the concept of like owning a pet,
Oh yeah, yeah.
So like
True.
so he keeps going through like this whole anime saying like, oh, I'm gonna open up a pet shop, and they're like, a pet shop, like what's that, So
I think so. One of the things that like it has, or one of the charms for me, is that he's not really anything special. He's just a wrestler,
yeah.
right? Like he has no superhuman strength, no like god rays or anything. Like he's just a wrestler. Like people look at him because he wears the spandex,
Yeah.
or I guess it's just
His
like-
speedo.
yeah, it's like a speedo. It's
Speedos,
like
yeah.
underwear, like a wrestler would, and that's all he wears, like his boots, and then I think he has like wrist guards or whatever.
And they just call him a pervert.
Yeah,
yeah,
they're
they
just
don't
like,
know.
who's this pervert?
Like, I'm a wrestler. What's a wrestler?
yeah, because no one,
Everyone's like-
wrestling isn't a thing there. And so, like, actually, like, kind of spoilery, not really. He like introduces wrestling to this world as like their source of income.
Yeah.
They like it's not a lot. It's like maybe 2 or 3 episodes where
They have wrestling matches.
yeah, they have wrestling matches, and it's to generate income. But if you've ever seen wrestling or like old school wrestling, there's a lot of destruction, so they never really make any money. But I'd say it's like pretty standard-ish isekai where it's just like, oh, we need to make money, and he's just going out, and he kind of like digs himself a grave in just that like he's going out accepting these like guild quests to get animals and
to raise money to open the pet
to
shop.
raise money to
Yeah.
open the pet shop, but he ends up keeping the animals, and so now that's just more food costs, and
Yeah.
they're just but anyways, I like it just because it's so different. I would say, you
Yeah.
know, it's just
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting. I mean, what are your thoughts on it, Ed?
I mean, usually I don't really watch that kind of anime, like
Right,
when
right.
he's transported into another world. But this one, like they did it right with
Yeah,
the comedy. Yeah.
it's extremely funny. I like so there's like this dog lady
Oh,
who
yeah.
Isn't
What's
she,
it
isn't
called?
she a cat?
no, I
I
think
don't
she's like a
know.
wolf. I think it's like in that anime they're called kobolds or
Oh, it's-
kobolds.
Kobolds or something?
Something
Kobolds,
like
yeah,
that.
something like that. I think in Dungeons and Dragons those are bird people, so there's like some confusion there. But no, so she's like a dog lady, has a husband, and
Oh,
this pervert guy, so he just loves animals.
Loves
He's
her
like,
fur.
oh, you're so beautiful, your fur this, fur that. And I think it's like definitely a misunderstanding where like he just likes animals, sees her as an animal, and but she thinks that he wants to like get busy with her and
Better.
yeah, and then like have her cheat on her husband and stuff, and so it's like this funny little like misunderstanding and stuff.
Yeah,
but
she
like
played like a whole romantic scene in her
yeah,
head.
yeah,
You know, like,
yeah,
I
but
just
like
love animals.
yeah, like straight up like what are they called in English? Something like a novela,
Soap
a
opera?
soap opera, yeah, like soap opera style, and sees him as this like super gallant man who's just like Fabio looking. But no, it's definitely like the comedy's there. I was laughing pretty consistently throughout that
Mhm.
entire.
Yeah, I'd say that
anime.
was like the funniest anime I've ever
Yeah,
seen.
it's pretty good.
Yeah.
But all right. I think there's not much to talk about that one. I think we kind of went over all of it. Let's
Well,
see.
I say animals is a good segue into Beastars.
Oh,
Oh.
Beastars.
Yeah.
Beastars.
Now that one, that's a spicy one.
Yeah, I started watching Beastars because I had like nothing else to watch, and I I heard some pretty iffy things about it. There's some iffy scenes, but I just started watching it because I'm like, I heard it's good, but I just had nothing else to watch, so I'm like, fuck it,
yeah.
I'm gonna watch it.
So Diego's actually the one that put me on to Beastars. Primarily I would say because of this episode that we were shooting today. I saw that it was on the list and I had heard about it. I wasn't too inclined to want to watch it, but Diego was like, "Hey, you got to give it a chance. Watch it. It's pretty good." I think for obvious reasons I didn't want to watch it. It's not my cup of soup.
Animals being the main character is kind of
Exactly.
like a turn off.
Yeah.
to some
So
people.
I think Zootopia was kind of the same way. I was just like, animals. It's
Yeah, that's what they reference it to. They say it's just like
yeah,
Zootopia,
it
but,
really
like,
is. It really is like Zootopia. So basically, just a quick rundown on what it's about.
Me and Carlos were discussing about this like yesterday. but it
Yeah, I
was,
want to say like last night even.
yeah.
It's about my misunderstanding was that like the guy wears like suspenders, so I thought he was like a detective for some reason. Like I didn't know it's like a school life. Like
Yeah,
it's
school
slice of
anime.
life, I would say, right?
Slice of life school anime.
And it's a
Romance,
romance
yeah.
anime. Didn't know it was a romance anime. I'm a big fan of romance anime, so I really vibed with this one. But yeah, so it's a wolf guy. He's in school, and there's this like transition of society where it's like
Herbivores and
herbivores
carnivores.
and carnivores. Kind of like Zootopia. Definitely like a lot of comparisons that you can make there. That it's almost like a Zootopia anime, basically. But as it goes on, Wolf Guy falls in love with this rabbit girl, and he doesn't know if it's love because it might just be his predatory
natural
instincts.
Yeah.
It's a rabbit. He wants to eat her. So he doesn't know if it's actually love or not. Yada yada. Stuff happens. Normal school life stuff. There's like a play.
Mhm.
There's a school festival. Things like that. He's not really like a popular guy. He's not. I would say he's just kind of like a wallflower almost. Like what's it like? The quiet kid basically.
Yeah.
But he's a wolf, so he's expected, or he's a gray wolf, so he's expected to be like this ferocious, like mean
Beast,
dude, you
yeah.
know. And so the name Beastars, like that's an actual thing in the anime. So the term in the anime, it's pretty much just like the like an honor student, upstanding, like the best of the best, like leader of the school. So just for y'all's knowledge, but no. So I was talking to Diego. Like I said, I didn't know it was a romance anime. But I want to say like so I was telling him, I was like, it has to be animals. Like, there's no better way that it could have been done. There's a lot of like notes or hints of, what is it, segregation, racial comments of, because it's like, oh, he's a carnivore. He wants to eat me. He's the bad guy. But like, not all of them, like they're trying to essentially go against their
what's that
natural instinct.
What's that deer guy or whatever? What's his name?
Lewis
is always like pushing like that wolf guy. I forgot his name too, but
yeah, we should have looked up their name. JT, you think you can pull up the character names?
Yeah,
easily. But he's always pushing him to like he's like you're a wolf, It's like you gotta like what are you doing? Why aren't you like
he's
like why won't you eat me or like something?
Yeah, his
like
whole character thing is just that like
he's
Lewis had it rough, and he's like, I'm a weak deer.
Legoshi is the name of the wolf.
Legoshi.
No, it's Yagashi or something. Legoshi.
Yeah.
Legoshi.
I just said it wrong. My bad.
Yeah, you gotta have that right accent on it. Legoshi.
Legoshi.
It's SI though at the end, right?
Yeah.
So every time I read it, I thought it was Legoshi or Legoshi.
No, it's Legoshi. SHI.
Yeah. He's suppressing his like wolf instinct. Because he doesn't. Because carnivores have a bad rep, and so he's trying to, like society, or as what he thinks society's doing.
Mm-hmm.
He's trying to, get along with everybody, and he really genuinely does. But Lewis, this deer guy, who's like the number one actor,
he's like the popular kid.
Yeah, the number one popular kid. Like everybody, they're swooning over him. But he gets mad at Lugosi because he's like, it really makes me mad that I'm a weak herbivore, but and you're holding back. You have all this strength and you're holding back, and that really pisses me off. If you like watch it, it goes into his background or his backstory, and it's actually really cool. Like I would say, like all of these characters are really well made characters. This rabbit girl that he falls in love with they keep like calling her a slut, that she sleeps around. And they kind of go in depth on that character of like, she's the type of like dwarf bunny that she is like, just irresistible. And then obviously, Legoshi is a wolf, and wolves, apex predator, yada yada. But no, like I was saying, I feel like it has to be animals, because it's kind of like Romeo and Juliet. Like it doesn't matter how much world building you do, how much you emphasize this is a forbidden love, right? It doesn't matter. It won't do you any good. I would say like current day, like how far we've progressed. If you see a black person and a white person, and it's set in the period of, the early 1800s when slavery was around, and it's like, oh, you're a slave, you're not supposed to, it's like for that forbidden love, it's like we'll always be like, oh well, they're people, it's like they have the right human. They're human. It's their human right if they can love who they want to love. Again, like no matter what world building, what context, like I feel like that forbidden love won't ever like really ring true,
because like in this what makes it different in this anime is the fact that animals have their natural instinct.
Exactly. So it's like a wolf preys on rabbits. Like that's just known.
Yeah.
It's like the carnivores prey on the herbivores. That's the circle of life. That's the, the food chain. That's just how it works. So for them to like, love each other, like, so this rabbit girl, she's just always been used, right? Like she's irresistible. So they're like, hey, I love you. And she knows it's not true, but she'll sleep with them anyways for validation.
Yeah.
I would say. And again, there's the whole carnivore herbivore thing, and when she's actually approached by Legoshi and he's like, hey, like I actually love you, she's not used to that. She's not used to actually genuinely being like loved,
No, she's all like, oh well, I've heard this
exactly.
Million times.
I've heard this a million times.
Yeah. The thing is that like she thinks like Legoshi just wants to sleep with her, but the fact is like he doesn't. She's like, oh, like the first time some guy doesn't want to sleep with me, like he's different,
Yeah. And there's like some other things you can't really go into because it'd be like spoily. And I would say it's a big spoiler that affects the entire plot line, so I'd rather not go into it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I was kind of skeptical at first, but I genuinely like I told Diego, I was like, it has to be animals, like just because it makes the most amount of sense. You know, like I said, it's like you don't need world building to know that, you know, eagles and wolves eat rabbits and like squirrels. You know, it's like that's just it's known. So it's like, you know, that interaction's gonna be interesting. So like there's a lot of like societal and like political statements that are made in this anime, and it's all kind of covered up by like the sunshines and rainbows of, you know, oh, animals getting along. You know, I think Zootopia did a lot of the same thing too.
Yeah.
But no, all in all, a really good anime. I would call it a sleeper anime. You know, it's easy to pass up on, but it's it's big. Like, I like it. It was really good.
Yeah, it's like iffy, but I'm kind of glad I watched it.
Yeah, most definitely. They are setting up for a season 2. I was talking to Diego. I am against it, and I most likely am not gonna watch it.
It's not that I'm against it. It's just the fact that I think it's fine where it's at. It just feels like it's just tying up loose ends, things that like maybe they didn't get to talk about or stuff like that.
What I'm worried about is that they're just gonna, like, there's not a full season's worth of ends to tie up.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
But that's really all that I'm worried about. So I can see them, wanting to tie up loose ends, but in doing so, creating more, which is I'm not a fan of. It's like when something good like runs its course, it's like let it end. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what else is on the list. So we have a big one. I would say My Hero. Obviously, that one's like the movie came out recently. I don't know if any of y'all seen the movie. It's a banger of a movie.
Oh yeah, it is.
I want to say JT's probably the only one at this table that's actually sat through all of it. So
yeah.
So I only that's season 4. So I've seen up to season 3, and I watched the movie.
I think I've only seen up to season 2.
Up to season 2.
Me too.
Really?
Yeah, like I ended at season 2. That's when.
Are you watching sub or dub?
Watching dub.
Good choice.
Yeah.
All right, JT. Fill us in. Let us know what you think about it.
Season 4 of My Hero Academia. I like My Hero a lot. I think it's a really well-made anime. Season 4 took kind of a strange turn with it. So it starts with introducing us to, or giving more backstory to the big 3 that were introduced at the end of season 3.
From the school, right?
Yes, from the school. Students, the top 3 students of the school. Them being Mirio Togata, his ability is permeation. Basically, as long as he can hold his breath.
That's the All Might Junior.
That's All Might Junior.
Yeah.
So as long as he can hold his breath, he can basically phase through anything.
Okay.
Then you have Nejire Hado. Her quirk, I still haven't really figured out. They keep selling it. Basically, she's able to create energy spirals, which allow her to. It's really weird. I'm not even understanding
I guess
it completely.
It sounds. I mean, you haven't said too much about it, but from what I know of that universe, it's one of those like weird quirks that isn't as cut and dry as, oh, she can pull things out of her fat. This guy's super strong. This guy runs fast. You know, it's like one of those like weird quirks that's just kind of like okay.
Like she's able to shoot energy while she's flying around in the sky. Like it's really.
It's
strange.
more of just kind of like nod and say like smile, be like, okay, yeah, sure.
It's anime.
Yeah,
that's why it's anime.
Accept it.
Just don't question it.
And then the third guy, I forget his name, but he's actually one of my favorite characters.
And you forgot his name.
I know. It's sacrilege. I'm speaking sacrilege right now. But no, his quirk is really interesting. He basically can take shape of whatever animal he eats. So
Beast
like
Boy? Oh, he has to eat it?
Yeah, he has to eat the food. So if he eats like squid, he's able to get tentacles. If he eats chicken, he's able to get like a chicken leg. If he eats like an alligator, he's able to get like an alligator. Stuff like that, basically. Like whatever.
I know they're probably having. What's up?
What if he eats human?
I was just about to say, man,
a twin.
That's what it means to go plus ultra.
Here he is. His name is Tamaki Amajiki.
So I doubt they have, but if you know, does he get to choose what of that animal he takes on?
Yes. He gets to choose whichever. He's able to control multiple at the same time.
Okay.
It's just whatever. Really? It's just whatever he's eaten most recently really dictates it.
Dog.
Interesting.
Anyway, so it goes into a little bit more about those 3. And then it starts with the Class 1A students going into practice because they just finished their exams to get their license to practice their quirks outside of school. It's basically their hero's license.
Sure.
So they start going to agencies to get tutelage under it.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Deku himself, Midoriya, ends up going to the same one that Mirio goes to.
Wait. Oh, sorry to interrupt. Didn't they do that last season?
Season 3?
Or season 2, where they go and like study under?
This is different. So while that they were doing
internship. Right, yeah.
This one is going to an actual hero agency to do actual work instead of just training.
Okay.
They're doing actual hero work.
All right.
Anyway, so Midoriya ends up going with Mirio, and they end up going to. Mirio takes Midoriya to his agency that Mirio works under, and his hero name is Night Eye, also known as Mirai Sasaki. Night Eye used to be All Might's number 2. So he was All Might's right-hand man. He was his support hero. So Deku took that as a chance to learn more about All Might. He took it as a chance to really learn. He got put through the ringer. So while he was there, he wasn't there for long. It was only for a week. But while he was there, Mirio and Deku end up going on the streets on a patrol as heroes. So Lemillion is Mirio's hero name. Honestly, Mirio is one of the best characters in this anime. But getting aside from that.
Yeah, I was talking to someone. They were like, if Deku wasn't around, Mirio would be the guy who would take on.
That is one of the biggest points of the first half of season 3, is that Deku finds out that Mirio was also being considered to be given one for all, but Deku got chosen instead.
So kind of, not that like I have a problem with going in depth about the plot of the anime, but I kind of want to pick your brain about it rather.
Mm-hmm.
Going on that, what does that do to Deku? Like, or how does he find out? What does that do to his psyche, knowing that like
Deku is obviously crushed by it. He realizes
who told him? All Might told him?
No, I believe it was Night Eye.
Oh.
Yeah, Night Eye. While Deku was trying to get approved to join Night Eye's agency, Night Eye told him about it. And so Deku obviously was traumatized by it. He was very upset. He realized that he needed to get better to prove that he was worthy of it. He goes through some trials and tribulations, wondering what it would be like if Mirio had it.
Right,
instead
he
of
never got picked for it. Like,
he ends up talking to All Might about it. All Might ends up telling him that Night Eye's opinion was Mirio was the best choice, and All Might was actually going to give it to him until that fateful day where he saw Deku try to save Bakugo.
Yeah.
All the way back in season 1.
Yeah, right.
That was a long time ago.
Call back.
Anyways, so joins the agency. Mirio and Deku are on patrol. They end up running into this girl named Eri. Eri, she's covered up in bandages. She's in rags. She's just all kinds of a mess. And so they end up meeting this guy, and he claims to be Eri's older brother. But Deku realizes that he's the one causing Eri to have all those bandages. She's covered in wounds. She hasn't had much sleep. She's just really not happy about anything. And so as the anime goes on, you learn that he is part of a mafia of sorts. He actually took it over from his grandpa. His grandpa was trying to keep a mafia in a more classical terms before quirks happened.
So, okay, hold on. Do you hear at all from the Association of Evildoers or whatever?
There is a small part. It happens right before Deku and Mirio run into Eri. There's a small part where where the older brother of Eri meets up is the best way to put it, with the League of Evil. He meets up with Shoto, I believe.
Shota?
Shigaraki, my bad. Shigaraki. He meets up with Shigaraki trying to get the League of Evil to join the Mafia.
Ah, okay. So then throughout this entire anime is more you're dealing with the mafia.
Yeah, it's more of the mafia side of things,
The
but it's
Yakuza.
because the character himself, his name is Chisaki. That's what it was. Chisaki is the older brother of Eri, quotation marks, and he's the leader of the mafia. His grandfather, Chisaki's grandfather, was the original leader of the mafia. He was trying to keep it a classic Yakuza clan because even with the introduction of quirks, he tried to keep it the same.
Yeah.
He wasn't embracing change. Chisaki thought he could make better. He could change it. He could make
Yeah.
it better with the involvement of quirks. So he takes over in a very brutal way that I won't go into. And he starts calling himself Overhaul. Overhaul has one of the most broken quirks in My Hero.
OP.
Overhaul is able to dismantle and create matter at his own will.
All right. Well, you know.
That was a good anime.
No,
well lasted.
it's broken.
Newton died
It's
for
broken.
nothing.
Huh?
Newton died for nothing.
Yeah. Right.
It's broken. Like it's straight up busted. Anyways, so the entire first half of the arc is about the hero agencies teaming up, including Mirio and Midoriya.
So hold on. Let me cut you off. How many episodes?
24.
24. Pretty standard. Is it like more world building? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, is it not? I don't want to call them filler episodes, but it's like, okay, so like last season, the whole thing with All Might happened,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that I would say that was pretty major.
Mm-hmm.
Is it more of that? Like the whole no? Is it like big events the entire season, or is it more of just like introduction of new blood?
So there's a very big argument about that, whether season 4 in general is just filler or not. Personally, to me, I don't feel like the first half. I don't feel like any of it's filler. I feel like
Well,
it's
that's
all
what I'm
part
saying.
of
I
the
don't want to call
story.
it filler, like world building though. Then it's like you're introduced more characters, more what's going on in the shadows, like
So
not really big fights.
yes and no, just because there are some major fights in the first half of season 1, just because it's trying to build up to the final fight of the first half of it.
Yeah.
But nothing really to say that like, dang, this is really happening right now, huh? I know I'm kind of running on time, but
Oh no, you're all right.
so basically, I'll kind of try to speed it up a bit. So basically, there's a few fights that happen. One of them is with Kirishima, who's one of my favorite characters
He's
in My
the
Hero.
bird guy, shadow bird guy.
No,
Oh.
Kirishima is the hardening guy. He can harden his arms.
yeah.
He has one of the best fight scenes.
Love that guy.
Second best, I'll say it. Second.
So okay, so I also heard that the #1 hero made his move.
Well, we're getting to that. We're getting to
Okay,
that.
my
We're
bad,
getting
my
to
bad.
that. So yeah, Kirishima has a really epic fight scene. He has 2 of them, but his first fight scene is the best one. I don't know. That's like they're both pretty good.
So do you see, like, are they building on the original group? Like, how many is it? Like 10 of them, 12 of them?
Yes,
That
they
class 1A.
Yes, they are slowly building on the other characters in.
See,
the
so I
class
guess like if there's aren't any major things happening in it, I guess I'm okay with it if it's like you're building the right things. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
like that's a large cast of people that are like secondary characters, I guess you would call them.
I have a whole list of like A plot, B plot, C plot,
Yeah.
background.
So
characters.
it's like if you're building on those characters, like that's cool, but I don't know. I guess really overall, I just want like your main opinion. Like, well, what did you, if you would rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give it
So, and this
as
is
a whole, and then compared to the other seasons?
So-
2 different scores.
I'm gonna. It's kind of similar to season 3, where I have to break up season 4 into 2 different parts, because you
Sure.
have the first part, which is handling the mafia, and then you have the second part, which is a more slice of life part than it is anything else,
Oh,
because it's focused on. Yeah, it takes a real strange turn. It focuses on a school festival that they hold, and they do have a villain mixed in there. But overall, to the plot, he's really.
It's like the villain's in there just to so you know it's a superhero anime.
Yeah,
like,
essentially.
like they're still superheroes.
So, first half of season 4, I want to give it a solid 6.5, 7. The
Okay.
only problem with it is that at the time, a lot of the animators were making the second movie. So because of
Yeah.
that, it wasn't best quality. The best quality
720p.
the best quality that it had was the final fight where it was Deku versus Overhaul. Deku was able to use 100%, and you could really tell that they were.
Oh, he used 100%?
So it has to do with Aries' quirk. Aries' quirk is able to reverse time. She has the second best quirk in the anime, but Aries' quirk is able to reverse time to anybody she touches at the moment.
So she like healed him?
She was essentially holding on to his back, and while Deku was destroying his body, Aries was healing him.
Oh, okay.
She was
That's kind of
reversing
cool.
the damage.
Did you ever watch the movie?
Yes, I watched the movie.
So the fight scenes in comparison to the movie, how do they stack up? Like that last fight scene.
That last
the
fight
last
scene.
fight scene of the movie. Putting that at a 10, obviously.
So see, that's where I make an argument. The fight scene before Deku versus Overhaul, Mirio, Lemillion versus Overhaul, was the best fight scene in
Really?
the anime. Yes, it wasn't the greatest animation wise, but you could tell there was a difference between Deku and Lemillion just because of Lemillion had much more skill. He had a lot more knowledge to it, and he was just overall just badass.
Okay.
Even so, I'm gonna do a slight spoiler. Lemillion loses his quirk. There's like a B plot to it where Overhaul is working on essentially a chemical that erases quirks, kind of like All for One.
Yeah.
So he's trying to make a chemical that erases quirks. Lemillion ends up getting hit by that. He loses his quirk, but he still ends up fighting Overhaul, even without his quirk, just to protect Eri.
Whoa.
Lemillion has one of the most badass scenes in season 4.
That's pretty sweet.
So yeah, I want to say Lemillion's fight was number 1.
Okay.
Second one would probably be Overhaul versus Deku, just because that's where you could really tell the animators were at. But first half of season 1, I'd probably give it a 6 or 6.5, 7, just because most of the animation was just kind of meh.
Okay, second part.
Second part was about the school festival. The villain for that was Gentle.
I take it you rate that like lower.
Honestly, I was happy to see that part of the anime just because it was interesting to see. You had all these fight scenes and stuff like that, but it was interesting to see the school half of it.
Yeah, like slows it down, kind of. Okay, yeah, I guess there's nothing wrong with that.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
The villain for that plot was Gentle Criminal. His quirk I find really interesting. You don't see him use it until the last episode or two. You don't see him use it till like the last episode or two. So basically, it's all about getting the school festival set up. It's about Eri enjoying the school festival because while she was living with Overhaul, she was being tortured every day. She didn't know it was so bad she doesn't know how to smile. Eri doesn't know how to smile. So they were doing the school festival. They ended up bringing Eri to try to get her to see what life could actually be like. And it was essentially just kind of that, them planning it out and stuff. Gentle Criminal all the while was he's a YouTuber essentially, but whatever the anime calls YouTube in this. He's a YouTuber posting his crimes on
YTube.
Yeah, something like that. He posts his crimes on YouTube for people to show, but he's not very famous. So he decides his
How sad.
Yeah.
he decides that his big crime to put him on the map to make him a famous criminal is to break into UA while they're holding the school
I
festival.
thought you were going to say clickbait.
Yeah, right. He invents clickbait.
That's his quirk.
Anyway,
comes up with
so
clickbait titles on the spot.
Anyway, so plot continues. This Class 1A decides to hold a kind of like a concert to kind of help cheer people up because they've been
pretty standard school life stuff.
Well, because they're the cause of everybody's problems because all these events that happened in the previous seasons, the rest of the school is getting is having to deal with the repercussions of it.
Yeah. I want to say third season they talked about that UA was taking criticism for letting that stuff happen to the
exactly.
students.
And so Class 1A. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna try to.
Gotcha.
Yeah, move on. Let's.
I wanted to talk about Fire Force.
Yeah. So okay. Well, before we hit that, I just want to get JT's final thoughts of you never really rated.
Right. First half of season 4, 6.5, 7. Really good fights. Just really poor animation. Second half of season 4. I really enjoyed it personally. Slice of life stuff like that, I enjoy. I'd
Sure.
give it a 7.5. I enjoyed it a bit more than the first half. They left at the very end of episode 24. They did leave it at a cliffhanger,
Setting up for the next season.
setting up for the next season. And from what I've heard, not a lot of people may not like that.
Mm.
I haven't read the manga, so I'm not sure how it turns out, but we'll see when season 5 comes out.
How would you? Okay, and then comparative to the
S-
other
uh,
previous seasons.
Obviously, season 1's the best in my opinion.
Sure.
Season 2, second. Season 4, I would say season 4 is better than season 3.
Oh, interesting.
Mhm.
Okay. Wow.
Mm.
I mean, I really like season 3, so that's interesting. I'm definitely
But
have to
to be
watch
fair,
that.
all of them are really good.
Yeah.
so,
Well,
like,
yeah. It's like could be the number one anime, but I want to say the fall 2019 animes are definitely like heavy hitters. Like, whether it's like Sao, My Hero, or Food Wars, like these ones that are in like their later seasons. I think we can agree that they felt more like build up. They're build up for the next ones that are
season.
coming
Yeah.
out. So they got to kind of, it's like the whole they walked so that we can run kind of thing, So they walked so that these spring 2020 animes can run, So hopefully like they'll be hitting hard. We're definitely planning on going over some of them later. Maybe 2-3 episodes down the line, who knows. So definitely keep an eye out for those. Try to watch some so you can so y'all can be on up
In
to
the
date with
know.
us, in the know, so that we can have some spoiler talk with y'all.
Also, let us know if we missed any that you wanted to hear about.
Yeah, most definitely. Like there were some on the list that we didn't go over. If if you were looking out for some of those,
Some of them that we didn't even put on the list.
Yeah, you sleeping Assassin's Pride people out there, like let me know. But yeah, there's some more obscure ones that weren't on people's radars.
Mhm.
But definitely let us know. You can reach out to us
At our
at
Twitter.
Bowl of Men. Yeah, that's
On
our
Twitter.
Twitter account. You want to email us. You don't really want to do this whole social media thing. We're at bowlofmen@gmail.com. Reach out to us. Hit us up. Let us know what you thought. If you've got any thoughts, comments, questions,
Yeah,
concerns.
and if you got any recommendations, let us know.
Most definitely. Yeah, we're always looking for new anime to
Oh
watch.
yeah, we are.
So we're big fans of the obscure. It's like what normally isn't on people's radars. Give us some
Hidden
suggestions.
gems.
Yeah, the hidden gems. And actually, for some of you more veterans out there, give Ev some give him some ideas.
Always try to recommend some more animes for Ev.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's still a little wee lass,
Mhm.
and
Those are my
he
anime
novice.
buckles.
yeah. So if y'all got like some some good intro ones, or just like popular
Just
ones,
good
that
ones
y'all-
in general.
Yeah, good ones in general. Just let us know. But anyways, yeah. So that's the show, and thanks for sticking around, y'all. That's Bowl of Men.